Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
So here we are, Thursday, July 29th. We're looking at the news. See, are we showing? I might make sure I'm sharing the right thing here.
Yeah, we're looking at your Forex Factory.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay. Thursday, July 29th. Right now, I've seen only one red folder at 8:30 a.m. USD, advanced GDP, something or other, and that's a red folder. That's gonna be at 8:30, so be aware of that. Other than that, it seems pretty quiet until Friday. Now, keep in mind this is the last week of the month. For tomorrow is gonna be the last trading day of the month, so there's probably going to be a lot of profit taking between today and tomorrow as they close out their books for the month, trying to show profits. So I expect it to be a lot of profit taking and loss, trying to cut some losses out to keep the books profitable. And so then we go to our Hercules, and we're seeing what's strong, what's hot, what's not. And right now, the British pound seems to be running the strength on the higher time frame, the 1 hour. That's kind of bouncing back and forth between the New Zealand and the British pound. Same way with the 30-minute chart. Same way with the 15. So I'd say right now we could be trading the British pound strength against the US dollar and probably the Swiss franc. I would say I'd probably like that one a little bit better. I did look at the British USD earlier, and I think that was just pretty range bound. There wasn't enough room to be making a decision on that one. So let's take a look at the British pound and Swiss franc. Let's see, Swiss franc. I see that one's even starting to get a little bit stronger too. Let's say, well, let's go with the British pound. That seems to be the strongest. So let's go with that one first. And British USD. And so we're going to put the Fibonacci's on. Again, we start with the 50-minute chart. I get my fib zones in, my 50-minute fib zones. And we're right here at it, right at a red 50-minute line. We had a little bit of wick right up at that. You can see right there where that is. And our 30 moving average is right at the green line. So that's pretty much our range right now. It's coming from the low to the high. And so we're going to draw our fibs at the red line to the green line. Seems to be finding a little bit of a struggle to get through that. So we'll just see if the strength is strong enough to be able to break through and move up higher. But right now, I'm not real interested in taking anything right at this point right now. My 5-minute chart and just tweak that position right there on that 5-minute blue line. And we're going to lock it in. And so we have our range. And right now, we have a nice little spread. The British pound is 5 points on the 5-minute chart, 4 points on the 15-minute. But it's got a little bit of a pullback mode right now. It's like in the candle's starting to show some strength there, but it's not. I'd like to see a little bit. It's still showing the British pound is strong, but I'd like to see it's going to pretty much have to break through this blue area in order to before I'm going to be wanting to take it long, because it is a strength right now to the British, so we wouldn't take it long, but we want to wait for that pullback that we're looking for. And if I look and see where my zones are on this one, and you can see that this is at one. Let's see, 3. Let's see. I need to get another digital in this thing. Here you go. So So right now we're at the 139.65 area and looking to the 139.52. So there's our 13 pip range in between pretty much between these two fib lines. I'd like to see a little bit more of a pullback and then see if we can get in for a possible, no, just to get that 7 pip bounce that we look for. But right now that's not ready. And so we had the New Zealand USD, and that's pretty much there again. The New Zealand is now showing weakness to the dollar. The dollar's picking up strength against that on the 5-minute and on the 1 minute chart. So that is more there again. It's still kind of, it's not, I'm not seeing a lot of price action and a lot of price activity in here. It's still kind of range bound between 7,000 and it's about 14 pip range. And again, like I said, I like to see my target having at least 15 pips to the target zone before I want to take the trade. It's still, I like to see a little bit more of a pullback and the strength of the New Zealand. Actually, with the strength of New Zealand, I'm looking for this thing to go short. Just don't check that. I think New Zealand was strong. Yeah, New Zealand is still strong. So we want to be trading the New Zealand USD. We'd be trading that to the short side. We want to take that short. And right now, I'm not seeing the pattern there for me. So we're going to pass on that one. Let's see. How about let's try to take a look at the British yen. The Swiss was in here too. British Swiss. Let's take a look at the British Swiss. Reset my charts. Get my fib lines on. And right now it's it's right in the middle between the blue and the red. So that's actually, I like that position a little bit better, although it is in the middle of the range. We need to get that strength to get us into those zones that we want to be looking for. So I'm going to draw now this is a blue, 15-minute blue, which gives extra strength value to that one. And the British is strong, so we are looking at taking this one to the long side when the time comes. Let's see where is it. So right now we had a nice little. This wasn't a overexciting move up. It had a nice little pullback. British is still strong. We have a strength of 5 on that one, strength of 5 on the 15-minute, strength of 3 on the 1 minute chart. Right at the 50% of this range that we're looking at in our 15-minute Fibonacci zones. And we have a nice strong wick. There's a nice rejection right here at the 26.91 area to the 26.92. If you look at where my cursor is to the red line, that looks like a nice big move, but it's really only 1 pip. So we could keep those perspectives in mind. And let's see, strength move up, pull back. Let me draw an extension on this one. Like this little launch right here. There's the origin of this, what I call the spike candle. Now, if this perspective holds true, we have the strength on both sides. We had the pullback. It pulled back to 61% of this range. It pulled back 61% of that range. Yeah, but it did have a little problem getting through this. Now, this red line and this blue line should be about 7 pips apart, 91 to 98. There's our 7 pips. So what I'd be more apt to do is now I also see where as it pulled back, it had a nice little wick. So it's finding some resistance as it's trying to get up to retrace up here. So it was actually building a little bit of a wedge on this. I had a down move, have a bottom. There's a high. Here's a low, and here's a lower high. So right now it's right in this little range going sideways, but it's having a hard time getting through this little area up in here and a hard time getting through the bottom. So right now I could be looking at this could be a possible head fake where it went back up, found some sellers, maybe it may have gone up to take it, got people in, and now they're going to come back and take some stops. So I want to get out of this little range right here. This is just not. There's a lot of wicks and a lot of indecisiveness going on. I would look at this little area right here between the D and the C area as being somewhat of a trap. I'm not seeing anything real convincing that I want to take so far today. But like I said, this thing does have the, and you can see right now, this is in the pullback mode. It's been kind of, the British pound has been actually losing some of its strength ever since about this candle, even though it has a little push up. So we're going to see if it can start reversing. If we can get this thing to start moving up and this one's keep going down, this might be a nice little breakout. If we can get a breakout of this area, I may be willing to take this thing long to, probably about this area up in here. That's a nice little candle. So a lot of strength to that candle. We get a close on that. If we can get a 5-minute candle close on this, and that'd be right at about the 45 area, right? So I'm going to put a vertical line right at 45. And if we can get a 5-minute candle to close, which means this red candle that's driving me right now, if it closes above this little area right here, I'll take a long shoot for this as my target. But if it stalls up around here, I'll just maybe pull the trade. But right now we have the strength. I'm going to start setting up my trade here. With a buy stop right around the 126.90 area. And I'm going to wait till this candle closes before I'll launch it.
Yeah, your price has already gone past that there, Al.
Well, the prices, but the candle hasn't closed yet.
No, I know.
Let's see, this is what I want to see, though. I want to see that 5-minute candle close. Right now, this is at minute 49 or 44. So as soon as this closes, that's a 5-minute candle close on a 1-minute chart. There it is, and I'm going to go with a buy stop right at. I should go buy. I'm going to just go buy a limit at 26.90 if I can do that. See if it comes back and picks me up. I'm going to move it up just a little bit, right to the top of that wick. Modify it, see if it gets me in. If it gets me in, then I can use my, should hopefully get maybe just a little bit of a pullback. It did close out above this little wick right here above the B. It did close out. This is for breaking out a little bit right now. Let's see if it can come in and pick it up for me. It's a nice little strong little move. There's a little bit of a basing going on. Now I can do another buy stop right here at 26.91. That way, see which one fills first. Just let me do that. The spread, we have a spread of almost 7. That's not too bad of a spread. So I'm going to have to get it up here to 26. Yeah, the spread keeps moving. Look, there's 96 to, that's quite a bit of a spread there. 89 to 80. So let me take out. Let's go to the buy stop at 26.91. See if we can do that 26.91 buy stop. Let me do that. No, I'm not going to chase it. It didn't get me filled in, and I wasn't able to put the order in for the 91. I don't know why it didn't let me do that. I think they're really widening that spread on this. I said my target is going to be up in this area right here. We are getting the close above this red Fibonacci line. This is a really strong wick right here. I don't really like that wick, but it does seem to have strength where it broke out of this little range that was kind of confined in. British pound still strong. And I just got filled on that one. This is where they start play around with your spreads a little bit. And sometimes the brokers don't let you always get filled to where you think you should be. Right now I've got 2 positions on. Put my moving averages up. Let me see where my moving averages. Moving averages are in a good spot. We have the green over the green over the yellow over the 62. And my stop now can be protected with a take profit. Then we're going to be looking at a 7 pip profit. So we are averaging right at 90. So my targets to be at 97. Just going for 7 pips. That's going to put us right on up to right about in the middle of my target zone. And I'm going to put a stop for 15 pip stop. Let's see, check that at 26 to 73. That's going to be 73 is going to go all the way down here. We're not going to have to give it all that much. But let's get them into place here. See where they go. I'm going to move this thing up to at least this blue line right now. If it breaks through this little zone right here, then I'll probably start thinking about maybe exiting this trade. But right now I'm looking at this as being somewhat of a little trap area. So here we have our anchor. Here's a hit, rejected. It's coming back right now. It's sort of respecting, it's still giving us a higher low. I just don't know how much lower it's going to go. I can move that over. This up. As you can see, it's actually building somewhat of a little bit of a channel into the upside. It couldn't quite break through this little wick over here, although it did close above this one, the B. It couldn't quite break above this one over here. I'm still looking at this as being a trap for it to come back down to get into this area and then maybe go back up again, but still respecting the trend line. And as long as this trend line stays, as long as that price doesn't go below the flat line, there's someone brought that yesterday about having the flat line. This is where I'd be looking at a flat line because I don't really know how much lower this pullback is going to be, but I do know I don't want it to cross below the A. So if it breaks through the bottom of the A, then I'm going to be looking at maybe this thing's going to start going short. But I do see the trap that we had from the first hit, which is right in here. And we can actually probably even move it on up to this green line, the green zone. So I'm going to remove my Fibonacci here. We don't really need that anymore. And you can see we do have a little bit of a trend right in here. There's a low. Now this thing rejects off of this point. There's our trend line. Here's our wedge. Now we already broke through where the C, this BC area is. You can see where it already broke through this little pivot right here, because that's where it broke out. And so this is just another retest of the lower trend line. But this is still going to be our target area right up in this area right here. And you can see that's right by that should be right by a fib line. Here's a green line, here's the blue, here's the red. Yeah, my target's right here on this blue fib line right in there. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out. It's either going to work or it's not. But right now, It's again, this is a scalping trade, and we're trying to just get in there for 5 or 7 pips. If not, we're going to turn it into a day trade, and we'll just have to manage it until we either get out or we get some profit out of it. But right now, everything still looks okay for the up move. We have a pivot low here. We have a hit here. We can actually take this trend line, bring it down to this area, and we can use this point as our first hit. So here's the anchor, here's the hit, and you can see it's starting to respect this trend line, which was origin back here. So this is a good target area for it to maybe reverse, maybe keep on going. We have a little bit of a switch over here with right now the Swiss franc is gaining a little bit of strength, but if we look on the 5-minute chart, we still have British pound still strong by 2, and on the 15-minute chart is still strong by 6. So there's still strength to the higher time frame being the 15-minute chart. It still has the strength to the upside. Now that can change in a heartbeat, but right now that's what we're looking at. Any questions so far?
There doesn't appear to be any, no.
So we're just to keep our eye on this 1-minute chart and just see how things are progresses. That's 5-minute one. And while we're waiting for this thing, I mean, we are in this trade. We do have our stop set. Like I said, if it breaks out of this area, then I'm going to be out of this trade way before it gets down here, because it could come and take us this target. But there's no point in riding it all the way down. There's really nothing to stop it. Once it breaks this A point, there's really nothing to stop it until it gets down to this pivot, which is going to be just above where my target is. Because this whole region right here is where this is where the origin of this last big move up is. So we're going to try a zone right here. This is where it was basing. You can see in this area right in here, it was going sideways. All this area right in here.
Al?
Yes.
Can you unmute Christine? She's got a question for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard her. Something was going on. Oh, she's.
Good morning.
There you are. Oh, where
There
are
she
you?
is.
Yeah, I heard some stuff going on in the background. That's why I muted your mic, because I didn't think you wanted everybody hearing what was going on. But why is it not? Should be able to.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, there you are.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what was going by earlier, but I have a question on your chart.
Okay.
When you were at the A line, when you had A is your first hit and your C originally was over at the bottom of the other candles, no, to the left above the A, like you had the second hit go lower to your left. Yeah, there. So when you had it there, okay, why did you initially move it before? I understand the lower pivot to the left, but when you initially moved it from the C to flatline it, what was your decision to flatline it?
Well, that was just to show you that this was the trap area that I was looking at. And so I was, so basically from the C to the A, I'm looking at that as being a trap. So, but the reason why I flatlined it, because I didn't know how far this thing was going to go down over here. So until I was able to determine that, I'm just going to flatline it to at the bottom of where the A is. Because like I said, if it breaks the A, then it's probably going to go lower. So if it breaks this area right here, then I'll probably bail on this trade and wait for it to and reassess. There's no sense for it to break here, have it come all the way down here and take the drawdown if I don't have to, because I may be looking at to maybe re-enter down in this area. There's no sense taking all the drawdown. But right now, this area seems to be holding. The trap seems to be holding.
Okay.
And so it's respecting this. And here's that green fib line that I was referencing on the 2-minute. And you can see where it just kind of wicked down and it's just playing. Now, this was a little head fake right in there. So I still think we're still seeing that the British pound is still strong. So right now we're looking to see if it's, so this is where they brought it on up, got everybody sucked in, then they just look for everybody's stops or taking the stops out. And now they're going to go and run. Now there's a good chance they're going to go and run this thing on up to the target area. And you say we have a nice little anchor here. Here's the hit. Here's a pass and check. Now passed it, checked it, now it's back up into the zone. If it comes back out of this wedge again, and we have this DC area, take this fib line, this triangle, and I have my A to C. There's the area, and right now it's trading inside the DCA area. And so this is the, and so if it comes back out, I may start looking at retreat, especially if this thing starts flipping around again on a higher time frame. Right now, it's still okay. It's it has this, the strength of the British pound has weakened a little bit, but it's still relatively stronger than the Swiss franc. So this is where you just sort of watch the trade to see how well it's going to. If it doesn't do what you expected it to do, all you can do is plan the trade. But if the plan doesn't seem to be working out, just get out of the trade and just wait for it. I mean, it still may work out, but get out of it until it becomes more evident again. Worst thing you do is lose a couple of pips on the spread. So right now it's I say it's hanging inside this ABDC triangle here. It's still hanging inside of that. And now it's trying to break out this DC range here. You can see that we're starting to break out of that. And that's about where our moving averages are. This is where we got in up here, got to another position here. This is our average right here at the 126.89 area. So if it could, once it starts breaking through that, then we're profitable, and then we'll be looking for the target. This is where you kind of get whipsawed, where you can sit in these ranges and you can, you buy here, you get stopped out. You go short here, you get stopped out. And that's where when you start getting really beat up. But this is a way of keeping from getting beat up a little bit. We know we have this big area right in here that was where all the sideways congestion was prior to, well, let's see, 6 o'clock this morning. That's probably this is all during the London session. So we took a little bit of heat on here, but nothing too off the wall. We had our stop well out of the way. That's why I like leaving a 15 pip stop, because normally it's trading inside a 7 pip range. And once it breaks out of the range, it goes up to the next 7 pip range. And then it's going to bounce around there again, and then it's going to go up to the next 7.6, or it's going to go way back down to the lower one. That's why I'm just going to get in, get out, take your 7 pips, and be on your way.
Now you have a big change in your RCS numbers.
Yeah, you can see right now, here's the 7. We have a 7.3 spread on the 1 minute chart. And if we go to the 5 minute, we have a 7.4. That's the 3. I like seeing at least a 3-point spread. Here I have a 7.3. That's a 4-point spread. So right now, everything's still staying. The strength is to the British pound over the Swiss franc. Now, if I can get it close above this, where the D level is, above this upper wedge line, and it looks like, and then we're looking at going up to the, now if it gets up near this blue line and doesn't fill my trade, I'm just going to close it out with a profit. I'm not going to wait for it to break through with the spread, because like I said, once they get up in this area, a lot of times they start playing around with those spreads.
Gloria says she keeps getting thrown out of her session. I don't know if anybody else is having that issue. Danielle is not. Gloria, you might want to update your Windows if you haven't done so recently, and just log back into Auvoria prime in your instance to get in. See if that helps you.
So she's having problems staying in the session, you're saying?
Staying in the session, yeah. Her computer keeps throwing her out. But I've not, nobody else seems to be having that issue. So Al, I've just looked at the British Swiss. See what your thoughts are on it.
That's the one we're working on right now.
Oh, sorry. I didn't even know that. Isn't that funny? I was looking at the charts and I didn't realize.
Yeah, I think we should take a look at that.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I haven't looked at currencies for the longest time, and that's the first thing I went to. I had no idea that was the pair you were looking at. Isn't that funny? Let me clarify, guys. I normally don't trade currencies, so I didn't take note of it. But
Oh, yeah. Eva is our indices and our cryptos person.
Sorry about that. Carry on.
That's okay, Eva.
Good to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah. I'll keep looking.
Yeah, so see, one thing I don't like about how this thing just kind of came up here. Right now, it's just range bound basically between the B and the A section. It's a little shy of the B, a little bit shy of the A. Eventually, it's gonna. Right now, it's just whipsawing everybody, and so I'm just being patient, waiting to see what happens. If it has a strong breakout, then I'm gonna be out of here before it hits my stop. And we got a real strong move right down here. And let's see, how far is that from my stop? 77 to 73. No, it's still 4 pips. I don't know if I want to hang in there, because I do think if it does break this little trap area, I think it could come down. It's going to bounce right off of this right here, because this is the area that the origin of this move right here is where it was bouncing back and forth. It still has respect to the A. So right now, this area is still being respected. The top of this yellow box is still being respected. A 15 pip stop is still a relatively tight stop. We can still take a relatively high position without a lot of risk. It's when you start getting like 40, 50, 100 pip stops with a large lot size. That's when you can really start getting into some serious damage to your accounts.
Funny, my spread's a lot wider than yours on this one.
Well, it sort of seems to be playing with wires. No, I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, the spread sure seems to be. When I was trying to get into it, it certainly was showing a bigger spread than 1.5. But it's still pretty much in an uptrend. You just don't know. And like I said, right now is still respecting the A, the box. I mean, really, this box is the origin of where this trend line is. Now we have a pass. See if it comes up. If it can check this and can't break through this trend line, then I may want to be thinking about getting out of this trade with just a small loss. So right now, that flat line, if we had this, we can move this back over here where we had it. Here's the A. Here's the. Actually, let me redraw this. Here's the A. Here's the B. Here's the C. Here's the D. It broke through the bottom of this. It's breaking through the trap area. Now, it does have a little bit of a Let's move this over to see if we can get a 5-minute close. This is at 8:10. Now remember, 8:30, we have some news at 8:30, so buyer beware. Now that's with the U.S. dollar, but the dollar does affect other currency pairs. Let me take this one off just to clean up the charts a little bit. And now it's coming right into here. Now my stop is still way down here, but you got a nice big blue fib line right in that area. This is a 2-minute fib line. And we have a 1-minute close below this box. We don't have the 5-minute close. If we go to our 5-minute chart, you'll see that this seems still ranging here. We'll see how this candle closes in another. Let's see how many more minutes we have. One more minute. We'll see how this thing closes. This could end up just being a wick, or it could end up being a driving force. Swiss is now flipped over on the 5-minute. We do have the strength of the Swiss which is the second currency of the pair. That's going to give strength to the downside. So we may want to rethink this trade.
Yeah. Al, can you show your 3 charts, please?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. I just wanted to see the numbers on all 3 on the RCS. Thank you.
You'll see where this thing closes another 20 seconds. We'll see if it closes below the B. And we did get the close below the B, and see we're going to get a little bit of a pullback. Remember, we have this trend line, so let's see if it's going to cut back up and retest inside this. This is where you need to make a decision. Do I just hang on to it and see if it bounces off the A section as another trap, or is it going to keep on going? And so we can save ourselves a few pips if we got out, but I still like to view this 2-minute blue fib line as somewhat of a barrier to the price. So for me, I'm just going to hang in there a little bit longer. I would say that what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my stop. We'll see what happens with this. Coming down, retesting the 2-minute. And then the 5 and 15-minute candle is going to close here at 8:15. Now remember, we've got some news coming out at 8:30. And that could be part of the reason why we're seeing this little action right in here. But when the candle closes and starts tracking on this, the 8:15 line, that means we had a 5-minute close and a 15-minute close both. Reference to this blue line is what we're looking at. We still have a couple more minutes to go still. Actually, this looks like a little drop, a little base, and another drop. So this thing could go quite a bit more. Now we're having the flip on all of these, and we may want to bail on this trade before it gets our full stop. We'll see how this candle closes out. Right now, we do not have a 5-minute close below. We do not have any candle close, even a 1 minute below this two period moving this fib line. See how it just came right down to that line and just turned right around. So the strap is done. We can't use that for a reference anymore. Our moving averages have now flipped over here. And let's see what the moving averages are on this one. They flipped on the 5-minute, and they're not flipped on the 15, but it's not looking real good for this trade right now. And you may want to just go ahead and just bail if this, but I'm just going to wait and see what happens in the next minute or two. And the other thing is, if you have time and your account can handle it, you can maybe, when it comes down to this area, maybe take another position. Again, a lot of times I can let it go 3 positions against me. That depends on how much emotional inventory you want to pay for this trade. But we really don't have to go up too far to be able to get back to break even on this. And right now it's trading between the green line and the blue line. So here's my 2-minute green line right up there.
Up, down, one more.
There he goes. I'm going to make these a little bit thicker here. I can't already see it myself. Yeah, it's a little better. So at this point, what I'm going to do, I see this nice big candle right here. So I'm going to move my stop just a little bit below this area, because that way, if it does come, it comes through, and then I'm just going to save myself a couple pips in the process. Because if we had a nice little rejection off of that, and so this should give us a little point to not have to worry about. I said if this point holds, it won't affect our stop. But at least this way they'll save me a couple pips if it comes back down again. And so right now we have the 5-minute and 15-minute candle closed outside of this little red box here. This is the yellow box. And our moving averages are starting to come up. Now, if this green moving average comes up and can't cross over the yellow, then I'll just bail on this trade. If it comes up here, this is going to be a real test point right here. What it does up here at the screen, the screen 2-minute line, that may tell the story. You have a nice move down, and it's starting to build a little bit of a wedge. Here's a low. Here's a high. We don't know where the next low or low is, but let's just say it's going to be a little bit right about, a little bit above the blue line, and then we're going to flat top it. Now the question is it going to make a higher low and a lower high until it breaks to the other side? Or is it going to break through? And if it breaks through, it's going to take me out. And then I can maybe look to re-enter down here at this line. But I'll save myself the several pips in the process. Because if this thing breaks and keeps on tanking, then we could, that's where you can get stuck in these trades. This is where a scalping trade, which should have been in and out within the last few minutes, when it came up here, it broke. There's no reason not to expect that it was going to go up here, but it's given us a little bit of a head fake. It's making us work for it a little bit more. So now this is being more of a day trade at this point, because we're having to manage it a little bit more. But that's okay. But here is a pass, came back up and rechecked it. We'll see what it does with this trend line right in here. This from this B to the D area. This is going to be a critical point right here. This line right in there. If this trend line holds, if it can't break through this on the way up, then I'll bail on this strip, on this trade, and I'll just take a small loss. Because this would be the past the trend line, came back up, retested it. You see how it respected these algorithmic price points. I said these price points had nothing to do with the price action or where the price is, or the fact it shows up on our chart at a algorithmic type of level. It's not reference to any pivot point or anything like that. It's just strictly based on the number line. And these are the numbers that the not this one particular, but these are the types of things that the institutions use for their targets and their entries and their exits. They're doing it mostly on higher time frames, but it all matters. Right now we have a little bit of flip again. Right now on the 1 minute chart, we have the British pound strong again. And we have a 2-point spread. Now still favoring the Swiss franc on the 5. It's all kind of mixed right now. So right now there's no real clear direction on this. So the fact there's no clear direction, we can choose to bail or just hang in there and see what happens with it. And the original plan was we got in and go right on up and take this. Now it did pull back. Now I did take 2 positions on it. Now I was okay doing that. But generally speaking, once I got the one position, depending on how I was position sized, I would have not allowed it. I would try to X out of the other trade. So I've only been holding 1 position rather than 2 positions on it. But I was okay with this one. It depends on what your account size is and what you're willing to risk. Right now, it's coming up to retest this blue trend line, this heavier blue one. And we're coming right up. I mean, remember, we have reported 8:30, so this was before the report move. Pound still strong on the 1 minute. Pound still strong on the 15. 5 minutes still trying to figure it out. So you actually have a little trend line here. We have this little pivot right there where the B is right now. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. So right now it's still respecting this little, both this wedge right here between this D to the A area. So still respecting this little wedge. You see how it's getting real tight at the end of this thing. So once it breaks through there, it's either going to keep on going up or it's going to break down to the bottom. I'm starting to see where this heavier blue trend line is starting to hold. So I'm just going to bring this thing on up. If it takes me out, it takes me out. This thing looks like it still wants to go to the downside. I'll give it right here at the top of this box. Modified now, he went from a 15 pip stop to a 10 pip stop. with our next 15-minute candle. That's right here, the 25. Now you can see right now we're coming right into our announcement at 8:30.
Al, you have 2 questions from Daniela.
Oh, okay. Yes, Daniela.
What's the reason Al likes this pair? And I guess it's his favorite pair?
No, it just the only reason why I like it today was because the British pound was strong and the Swiss franc was weak. I do like the Swiss franc better than I do like the Japanese pairs. So I'm more apt to stay away. If I ever choose between Swiss franc or Japanese, I'll usually default to the Swiss franc. I'm not really in love with this pair. It just that's what the charts. That's what the Hercules was telling me to trade today. So yeah, I don't have any pair that I say, oh, I really like this pair. If there's anything, I say I do like the German 30. So I made a lot of money with the German 30, but I can't even say even with that. It's just like I just like the pair that gives me the most clean setup on any particular day. I ended up trading quite a few. See, this thing's starting to break through here, and so I'm just going to hold it out here, see if it's going to hold. I suspect I'm going to get stopped out of this. Just save a little bit here. Yeah, I do. I mean, I like the British pound, especially this time of day because we're in the London session right now. So I do like the British pound during the London session. I like the U.S. dollar during the U.S. session. As the Japanese yen, just because of the value of it, it's just a little bit more convoluted to me, and I just don't think it doesn't have quite the same. I don't know. Sometimes I just think it just doesn't play with the same algorithms that we're used to playing with. So usually, like I said, I'll trade the yen pairs, but that's usually not my go-to. But I haven't even noticed I've been trading the British pound Swiss franc quite a bit. If it is, it's just because this time of day has been giving us the best spreads for the setups as far as the strength. I try and trade with what's strong, what's hot, and what's not. The strength meter tells me which ones I want to be looking at, and the more it can stay consistent during the trading period, during the area of time that we're looking at, that's usually what my criteria is. There are about 4 more minutes to the announcement, and about 4 more minutes before Eva's going to take over here.
Is it a U.S. announcement now?
Actually, is not a U.S. announcement, but any announcement usually affects the U.S. dollar. Well, I take it back. It is a U.S. announcement.
Okay.
GDP. Not sure what all that means exactly, but it's a red folder. So U.S. pair, we usually pay attention to it.
Yeah, and also on the orange, it was home sales and oh my goodness, what was the other one? I don't remember what you flipped, but another one that has sometimes proven, the unemployment claims. So sometimes those tend to shift.
So like I said, right now we've been moving our stop. Our stop is all the way down here. We've been moving a little bit closer because it's still not given. It still hasn't broken through this. Now as we come closer to that announcement, this thing could just really spike on up and give us our target, which is all the way up here. And we'll just we're in the trade, so we're just gonna play the game here. because I'm not going to give it a lot of wiggle room, and expect that the spreads may start to spread a little bit as this announcement comes into play. I said this isn't a dollar pair, but like I said, the U.S. dollar affects all the currencies around the world because that is the world reserve currency, at least for now, anyway. This little move right here was to convince people to say, "Oh, this thing is going long," but it could very well just be to take some new positions. But you see, it's actually has this little channel here. It's going to start breaking again. We're 1 minute from the announcement, and we'll just see what we'll sit here and we'll see what happens with this. There it goes. It just took me. I didn't even come anywhere close to my where my price was, but the spread took me out. You see that candle never even came down to where my price was. But I just saw that price, it took the spread. So now I have a choice. I could wait and maybe try and re-enter it on the downside or just look for another pair. Right now, I think I just look for another pair. It's been kind of interesting to see what it does, though, but you don't win them all. That's just the bottom line. You just don't win them all. But still respecting this. You can see how it's still respecting this price point here at 26.77. Right now, it's just best to. Now we had the announcement. Now it's just best to move on. So let's just see what else is there. And actually, right now it's 8:30. So Eva, why don't you? I'm gonna make you host and let you take over.
Okay.
Are you ready to rock and roll here?
She is.
You got some indices.
I was actually testing a new index today.
Okay, so I'm gonna make you host. I'm going to stay here until I actually have to leave the house. So I'll see where we are by that time. So
Okay.
but I'm going to leave the mic, and Eva, that's all yours. Take it. You and Christine, you go get the room.
Okay, safe travels.
Thank you.
Yeah, safe travels. But you're still here in the room, right? Is that what you just said? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to mute my mic, and I'm going to leave and finish getting myself packed up and get ready. I'm going to try and be on the road by around 9 o'clock. So I'm just going to get myself logged in so that when you're done, I can maybe log out the room.
I think I should be able to log out because it's giving me the abilities to turn off the recording and everything.
Yeah, and I want you to do that. But there's another level that I need to log out of for the Auvoria Prime Zoom rooms, which I don't think you have access to.
Okay.
So what you can do is just log out the trade room, stop the recording, log out of the trade room, and then that should be all you need to do. And I'll just come in and just log out of the Auvoria Prime Zoom. Okay.
All right.
You got it.
All righty. Talk to you after.
All right, we'll talk to you later. I'll just mute my mic, but when I actually leave the house, then I'll check it. I probably won't leave until you're done anyway. So
okay.
It's all yours.
All righty. So guys, I was just checking a Euro Stocks 50. I've never used this index before, and I'm just checking to see what it's done. It's already triggered my buy stop. So this is just a little experiment for me. I'm using the same method that I use on all the other ones, but I'm trying to expand my European index horizon, if possible, or non-North American, I should say. Because I'd like to have a couple of things that I can trade when the US is closed. But anyway, so right now it just kind of, I've drawn a trend line here, as you can see, which is what I do if it doesn't start automatically going up the way I expect it to, according to my analysis. So It did tag this trend line, went a little bit through it, but it has not closed below it. So if it happens to do that, then I will just get out at that point. But anyways, again, this is an experiment, so don't put a whole lot of stock into this. I've never traded this thing before. But okay, so let's go check out the UK 100. It's not looking too bad, except this is kind of pointing down a little bit, but that's not a huge problem for me. I can still draw out my fib and just keep an eye on it. Let's just quickly check the 15-minute, and you can see that the short-term trend is up, or momentum as Brian likes to call it. They're both the same thing. So that's good enough for me. And on the 5-minute, which is what I trade, it's still showing that way. This could just be a pullback. So let's just draw a fib on it, and just to be ready in case it does what we want it to do. So again, where I draw my fib is, since it's up, it's from bottom to top. So I go under the 34, which is this teal kind of aqua colored line. And I find the first candle that closes below it. Okay, so that's right in this area. And then I find the lowest point before the candle that closes above it. So that would be this right here. So then I take it to my highest point, which is that. And you can see it's already starting to retrace here. So I like to call what I trade is not a breakout per se. I like to call the continuance. When it gets to a certain point and I think it's going to continue, that's where I have my buy stop. So if it does continue, then it will go. And it seems to be working quite well for me. I've got a pretty high percentage of, I would have to say about 95% of the time it does exactly that. But for now, until it stops retracing, I'm not going to touch it. So we'll just keep an eye on that thing. I want it to at least get down to the 23, which it may or may not. The 62 is here, but again, it's the 5 minutes, so it may or it may not, but it has to be at least the retracement to the 23, preferably close below it. But even if it just taps it, I'm pretty sure it's going to keep on going up to very close to the next one. But in any event, my take profits are so small that before it even gets to the 23, I should be in and out of it, if all goes according to what I think it might do. So let's have a look at the German. Okay, now the German is kind of doing the same thing. It looks like it's in retracement mode. So I'm going to draw this one out too. But you see now I'm going to start from here. You can see it's in an upward momentum. So I'm going to start here because this is the first candle or the most recent candle that closed under the 34. So that's that. I always use it that way. Very rarely will I use something previous to an actual close, because this is what gives me the best results if I do it this way. So now this is in a drawdown, as you can see, or not drawdown. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of expert advisors. This is in a pullback. So now I personally don't mind if it pulls back to the 76. As long as it doesn't close below the 100, then I still consider this to be a pullback, and it still has the potential to keep going up. So this to me may come up and go by. I think it will. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let me just change this. I'm just going to put a buy stop here. And my buy stop generally ends up being a couple of dollars above where the highest point was on my fib. So let's have a quick look. I mean, just so you guys have an indication. Okay, so that was at 658.05. I've got it at 661.35, as you can see down here. That's perfect. That's like $3, $2.53. That's good. So having said that, I'm going to modify the order here. So that my take profit on the German, my take profit is generally a $5 move from where I get in. So we want our target to be at $5 above where I got in, which instead of 61.35 is at 66.35. So, and you can see my take profit is going to be right below that 23 line. I mean, it may keep on going up, and it probably will, because usually this is kind of like a slingshot. The further you pull back, the more forcefully it's going to start moving up. But I'm happy with the $5 move, because to me, I'd rather take a couple of trades and keep collecting the money or tying the money bag off, as they say, instead of waiting for that big move that may never come. And I personally have been burned too many times waiting for the big move, and I'm thinking, wow, look at what it's doing, what it's doing, what it's doing. And then next thing you know, it turns around and just tanks on me, and I've lost everything that I would have had I just gotten out a little bit earlier. So this is for the indexes. This is how I like to trade them. So now this one here, we'll just continue to watch it. I mean, the RSI, I use it as well. You can see that it's starting to point up a little bit here. So I'm pretty confident, if not hopeful, that it's going to turn around and trigger my my buy stop. In any event, even if it doesn't, you know what? I haven't lost a thing because I'm not in the trade, and I'm not having to deal with all that emotional inventory of watching it go into drawdown. And is it going to turn? Isn't it going to turn? Like, I can just carry on and start looking for something else. Let's have a quick look back at this guy here. The Euro Stocks 50. See, it's just kind of, it's down at my trend line now. Is it going to go through? If it is, then I'm getting out. I mean, this is a demo account, and don't forget, this is just something I'm just testing for the first time today. So I just wanted to see how this thing moves, because I've never even looked at it before. And I just thought, let's see if we can find something else that's going to be okay. So I'll just keep an eye on that. If it goes down to like 30 minus $30, 31, 32, then I'm just gonna close out, and I'll have to rethink that one. So, okay, so we got the German set. So we're sitting there, we're going to watch what it does. And we got the UK 100. Let's just spread you out a little bit and make it just a little bit bigger so we can see what you're doing. Okay, so this is still pulling back. It hasn't even pulled back to the 23 yet. And the problem of why it's taking so long to do that, in my opinion, is because the fib started way down here. Like way over here. Even though the big move started here, my rules tell me and my strategy tells me I cannot use this because nothing closed below the 34. It's got to close below the 34 for me. So that's fine. I'll wait. I'd rather wait on this side of the trade than be in it and watch it do its nonsense and wait there. So that's my philosophy on the trading part of it. Let's have a quick look. Wow, there goes the NASDAQ. Actually, by the way, guys, yesterday the NASDAQ did me in. I don't know if you noticed, but I had a balance of over $2,000. And what happened was because of the spread, I forgot that the market was opening at 9:30. And sometimes these indexes will do really wacky moves, especially the US-based ones, when the market opens. And what happened is, actually, let me just show you, because I drew the line where I got in, because I did want to show you guys this. So I had placed my, right here, right where this red line is. Let me move that out of the way. I placed my buy stop here. And when the market opened, okay, this is on a 1 hour, so it doesn't make as big of an impact, but I will show you on the lower time frame. And what it did was it popped in there because of the spread. It grabbed my, it triggered my trade and immediately started tanking. So if we go down to a lower time frame, you can see this move here. That's where I got stuck. and before I knew what hit me, it was like, holy cow. And you can ask Christine, we were on Zoom together when it started to tank. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh, now I'm hedging it and I'm trying to get out of the account or out of the trade just by small increments. And before I knew it, it just went boom, and that was it. It was done. So lesson, always pay attention when the market opens. If you're not already in a trade, make sure that you don't get into one, or if you have one set like I did, move everything well out of the way or delete it and redo after it does that move. So I was distracted, and that's totally on me. So just a lesson to you guys. And so now here I'm limping along with a $900 account. But again, this is demo. So, I'm learning every day, just like you guys. So when I'm trading in these sessions and I can't give it my full attention, I'm always on demo. So now let's have a look at the US 30. The US 30, what do we have here? I don't really like it's starting to come up the way I want it to go, but I don't really like how it's looking right now, to be honest with you, because these are kind of intermingled, these three MMAs. So right now, I'm not even going to do anything with it. It's not even worth my while at the moment. Let's look at the S&P. These are in order. That's fine. Mind you, the 5 MMA is pointing down, but it looks like it's wanting to consolidate. I mean, you know what? I can draw this one out. And again, let me just have a look on the 15. Like on the 15, it's looking okay. Like it's still in an upward momentum, so that's fine. So let's go back down to the 5. So I'll draw my fib on it. Again, the first candle that closes below, and then the lowest point before it closes above. So the lowest point would be this guy right here. And if you guys are having a problem understanding that, please ask questions and I can go over that again. So there's my fib line on my 5-minute chart. So this looks like it did pull back, but now it's kind of just ranging here. So I'm not even going to set a trade while it's doing that. There's really no point. I want it to decide which way it's going. One way or the other, you got to let me know which way you want to go. So then what else have we got here? Okay, this one, again, we're just waiting on it to pull back. It still isn't kind of like it's really slow moving today, the UK 100. And usually it's a lot quicker than that because the London market is still open. So not sure. And the same here with the German 30. It's still pulling back, but it's just kind of deciding. But the good thing here, guys, is if you notice, it's still making the higher lows. So I'm just going to quickly draw a trend line. When it's doing this and it's really not doing a whole lot of moving around, I just put a quick trend line on it, similar to how Al does, just to see. And I see that, okay, yeah, here's a candle that came down and it hasn't even tapped it. And the same with this. So I just want to keep that there to see if it's even worth my while to keep this on. Because if it looks like it's going to break through this and close under this trend line, then it may be changing. It may be shifting to a downward momentum. And you can see here, there's kind of like an M forming. So, it's anyone's guess at this point. So I just put that there just for my edification, because it always comes back to retest, as you've learned with Al. So I want to see how strong this trend line is. If it keeps tapping this thing and can't break through it, then that tells me it's pretty strong. But if it breaks through, then I'm just going to get this off of here. I'm just going to take my trade off, and I'm going to redraw my fib as if we're going down, because especially once it gets below here, this low point, then it's a pretty good indication to me that it's going to be changing direction, at least for a little while. Don't forget, these are short time frames, so they do switch around a lot faster than the high time frames do. So if I put it on the 50, you see all the indicators are still showing that it's going up. Put it on the M30, it's still showing that it's in an upward momentum. So now it's just what is this going to do? What is this going to do? So anybody have any questions? What I've been showing you guys? Anything there, Christine?
No, nothing here, sweetie.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. So, and then this guy here, oh, look at that. He actually went through my trend line. I drew a same trend line there, and he actually went through. He's stuck now on my 34. So before I get rid of him at a loss, let me just see when the next candle opens, what it's going to do. So because I trade on the 5-minute and the MT4 does not have a clock on it to like count down when the candle is gonna, like a new one's gonna form. What I like to do is I just grab a vertical, I put it right over the candle, the current candle that I'm looking at. I pop down to the 1 minute, and then I can just count them. So now I can see I'm in the last minute. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 candles have closed. I'm in minute 5. So I got 1 minute to see what this candle is going to do when it closes. So that's just a little tip that I kind of use. I know they've got candle clocks out there for the MT4, and I can't remember, but one of you guys did send it to me, and I did look at it, and I've just not had the time to go in there and put it on. So this is my way of a little primitive. It's kind of like the caveman with the rock watching where the sun goes, but it works, so it's all good. So now at this point, I might as well just stay on the 1 minute. You see how it's coming down again? I don't like that, and I don't like that. So I'm just going to wait until this one closes. Okay, there it goes. So that means a new 5-minute has also opened. Okay, and I'm getting out because I don't like it messing around. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to end up doing, but for now, I don't like it. So I will wait. I will wait for something else to come along that I like better, even with this particular index. But you know what? It's worth looking into. It's worth testing out because it might end up. I mean, that's how the German came to be. I started messing around with these things. Al showed me the S&P, and then I went into the German. I thought, let me see what it's doing, and I threw it on my variable. And man, it just chugged along just fabulously. It was so great. And then to be able to trade it this way, it's just as reliable for the most part. Like it pretty much does what you think it's going to do. Okay, so like in this case, like it's still not deciding whether it's going to keep going up. It may not, because this here is also a lower high than the previous pivot. But because I've put a buy stop on it, I'm not even in the trade. So I'm okay with that. I don't mind sitting here like this. And if this breaks through, then I'm just going to get rid of that trade too. And don't be afraid to close your trades. Like, don't be in such a mad rush. Have a target for your weekly. Like, how much do you want to increase your account by week? And don't say 100%, because we all want that. I'd rather have 500% increase every week, but you know what? It's not reasonable. But have a target in mind, whether it's I want to increase my account by 10% a week, which on a $1,000 account is $100, or do I want to try to increase it by 15% a week? Whatever your percentage, whatever you want to increase it by, just aim for that target. Keep your eye on the prize, and remember, you got 5 days to do it in. So if things don't work out, there have been days where all these have been all jumbled up for me, the moving averages, and I've not even touched it. I thought, I'm not even going to go there, because anything that I made yesterday, I'm going to lose today, for the simple reason that I feel like I've got to put another trade on. Just don't do that. If it's not working for you, like this is not working for me right now, and as a matter of fact, I'm not in it, but I don't like what it's doing. So I'm going to, for now, get this off. I don't even want to risk that it's going to jump in and start doing goofy stuff. So I'm taking it off, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to see what happens with it. This here is forming a little wedge. So it's deciding which way it wants to go now. So it may very well turn around and start going down. So I'm just going to wait until it makes up its mind. And that's my best advice to you, is just go through them and see what works for you. See, like this one here, look at this NASDAQ. Look, holy cow. Like, would you ever even want to get in this? Look at the MMAs. I call this the pretzel formation. It doesn't know which way it wants to go. So I wouldn't even touch that one right now until it straightens itself out. I wouldn't even touch it.
Excuse me, Eva, you have a question.
Okay.
Anne would like to know, when you set up your buy stop, do you ever move it?
Generally speaking, no. I mean, I may adjust it slightly. For an example, let me just throw a quick fib on this guy here. Now you guys see why I did that, right? You see where I started my fib line and it's going up and everything's pointing up. So you see why I did that. So what I would do is, and I'm not going to set it because this hasn't, well, it has actually pulled back to the 23. So I mean, it might. So let me just put something small on there just for educational purposes. So I'm going to put I put a buy stop on. Okay, now my buy stop is at 35,100 and the fib is 35,097. Okay, so I'm $3 away from this pivot. So sometimes I might look at it and I might think, actually, let me just put on my take profit. My take profit on this is going to be $5 more. Okay. So there's my take profit. So now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll just move it up just a titch, just to give it a little bit more room to do what it's going to do. And it's still below the 23. So I may adjust it that way. I don't do radical changes. I really don't. I just kind of move it just a little teeny tiny bit here and there, just to something that looks, that makes sense to me when I'm looking at previous price action, where it may get stuck, where it may not get stuck. Like this one, okay, let me put the take profit. So it's right at the top of this wick where price has been before. It increases my odds that price is going to hit there. It may bounce off of that, but it might just take me out. But then again, you have to take the spread into account too. So here you've got the spread, and mine shows both prices. You can see the gray line and you can see the red line. So now when you're doing a buy, the gray line has got to hit your take profit. So that's another thing I will have a quick look at. So you know what, let's just maybe just a little bit more. And then there's a pretty good chance that your gray line is going to hit this before it gets to the 23 or when it's just slightly above.
Hey, Eva?
Yeah.
Anne has a continuation question.
Okay.
If this trade goes down and seems it's going down, do you move that trade down?
Nope. I sit strong. I sit strong. Just what I've done right now. I sit there. I don't chase it. I will not chase it because I lose, I would have to say 75% of the time if I'm chasing price, and I won't do it. So I have my plan. I have my strategy. I stick to it. Everything here is telling me it's going to go up. The whole momentum is going up. So if it comes down, I do not trade the pullbacks as such, because pullbacks for me also, I've not had a huge amount of luck with. It's not been consistent. Let's put it that way. Sometimes it's like the jackpot. Other times it's not. So the pullbacks, I find what happens is if it pulls back to 50 and I put something here at the 38 when it's coming back up, there's no guarantee that it's going to hit my target and that it's not going to turn around and come back down again. Not for me. For me, it doesn't work. For other people, it works great. But for me, this works the best. All I know is that in this particular case, here's the high point of my fib. Here's the high pivot point overall. So that would be the only thing I take into consideration with my take profit. I probably won't put my take profit above this highest point because there's not been new ground broken yet. So it's little things like this that I take into consideration. But so actually, let's see what happens. See if it hits now because it's coming up to it. But no, Ann, I won't chase it.
Okay. So even if it goes down past 75.4 or 100, do you just get out? Ann's asking that.
If I'm not in the trade yet, I wait and see what it's going to do. It could, even if it comes down to 76, it could still turn around and go up. But if I can clearly see that it's going to be like, see, this is already closed, or not closed, but wicked above the previous high. So that is a good indication that it's going to go through. If it wouldn't have, if it would have done something like this one here, for example, or even this formation, that here it is, and my buy stop would have been up here somewhere above the previous high, and then all of a sudden it starts coming down. I'm not changing anything, because basically then you're chasing price, and price is not predictable. You can't predict. This is a little bit more predictable to me, that if it does break above this and closes above this, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to go anywhere between this high point and this high point before it turns around and comes down. It may not. Like, I don't really like this setup right now. Pardon me. That's why I've got such a low 0.01. Oh, and look, and there it goes. And it got me. See what I'm saying? I won't chase price. I set the trap according to what I think it's going to do, and then I wait for it to happen. And if it doesn't happen, I remove that trade if it turns around, and then I start looking all over again. But what it just did right now happens to me 95% of the time doing it this way. So I didn't even want to take that one. So, and there you go. But go ahead. Yeah.
So Anne would like to know, so when do you decide to close the trade when it goes the opposite way?
Well, like I told you, like especially like on the last one where I pulled the plug on the euro stocks. In particular, if something, okay, for example, let's say, let me just see some kind of setup here that I can show you guys. Okay, so let me try this. Let's go back in time a little bit. Okay, let's say this is what I was looking at. It's the same thing. Momentum's going up. Let's just say I put in a buy stop here, and it hit it, and then all of a sudden it started doing this. Instead of going straight through like it usually will, it starts doing this. Then normally what I will do is I will have a stop already set in my head. I don't actually put it on here. What I will do is I will draw it. So if I'm thinking, okay, here's the buy stop, I want it to get in. If depending on what's going on at the time, if it goes, I don't know, like in this case, if it would have come down and closed right around where this 34 is, I'm out. It's hard to say it this way unless I'm doing a live one. Let me just see if we can find something that we can work with here so I can illustrate what I'm talking about. Okay, this is okay. So does this still stand? Yeah, it still stands. Okay, so look at that. If I would have had a buy stop, it would have taken it for me. So what I'm gonna do, no, again, for illustration purposes, I'll use a smaller size right now. I'm just gonna put it on. Okay, so my buy stop, if I put the buy stop right now I'm going for current price. Okay, so I put the buy stop here, and this is probably going to turn around. So once I've got it in my head that if this grabs me and doesn't keep going like I expect it to, then I will more than likely, and usually it's twice what my target is. So if my target's a $5 move, then my stop is going to be a $10 move the opposite way from when you get in. But I take these into consideration too. And because it's on a small time frame, I would probably put this right here as my stop is what I would do. Now let's just modify this guy. What did I get in at? 441738. Did I already go buy it? Okay, so let's wait and see if it hits. But so that's, I went $5 actually with the S&P lately. I've been going 3. I forgot that, but that's okay. So then if this starts coming against me, then I have to have a thought in my mind where I'm going to get out. So 34 for sure, but then I might just move it like up to here because this is where it starts wicking. So if it wants to go past that, that's an indication to me that it may be strong enough that it's going to keep on going, and I will just get out of it. But it's usually around that, but you tweak it based on what the chart is giving you. Like this is going up, that's fabulous. But if it starts coming back down, it doesn't mean that the trend is changing, but what it does mean is that it could be pulling back. So do you want to be in that drawdown? That's up to you, because that sometimes when you sit in that pullback drawdown, it can carry on and then you end up having a bigger loss than you wanted to have in the first place. See, like this guy, I'm in it, but it's just a tiny little thing. And again, with the S&P lately, I've been going for a $3, $3.50 move. Not $5 like I just set this one. But any last minute questions? Guys, look like we're over 9 o'clock here.
No questions on my side.
Everything's good?
Everything's good here. Ann says thanks.
All right. Sorry?
Ann says thank you very much.
Oh, not a problem, Ann. Not a problem. All right, guys, this was fun. We'll see how tomorrow works out. Al's going to try to log me in. I don't have that kind of access, so he's got to log me in and make me the host. So come on and see if we can do the class tomorrow. I can only assume I'll be doing the whole hour and a half, since Al's probably going to be busy talking to people down in Orlando from the Auvoria Prime organization, the meet and greet kind of a thing. So we wish him luck. And that's it. Come on in, see if I'm here and Christine's here. It will just be the two of us. And we'll do our best to get in here for you guys. If not, we apologize. It's not that we didn't try. Have a wonderful weekend in that case. But you know what? I'm going to think positive. We'll be here tomorrow. How's that? Okay, guys, I think I'm going to stop this video.